know. There's a lot to talk about.
Bring it back!
I feel you. I am here as a diehard fan of this show. I love this show. I love it from day one. I found the characters that spoke to me, that reflected me. It was so important for me. I love it. And very much like people in my life that I love, sometimes I get angry at those people. But I never stop loving them. And Stella May, Olivia Taylor-Dudley, Gail Appleman, Summer Bishel, Arjun Gupta, Rick Worthy, Jade Taylor, Brady Perry, Trevor Einhorn, executive producers, Sarah Gamble, Okay, so I just have to say, social reminder, I will encourage everyone in the room to share their reactions to this panel, nicely, using hashtag the magicians and hashtag SDCC50, which I have not been using all weekend, so. Some of us don't like to be reminded that we're 50. Okay, so let's talk about that video, which was amazing. You guys all have your own individual fandoms, which is like the coolest new evolution of TV watching. Is like shows just don't get fans, ships get fans, and then sometimes places on shows get fans, pets get fans. You guys all have your own fandoms. Talk about your own private fandoms and what is the coolest thing you've experienced with them?
The fact that we have one?
Oh, I love my Alice's. They always bring it with the dresses at Comic-Con. I love cosplay. Yeah.
No, I think it's actually, I mean, we come from books, right? And everyone, often with books, you get a sense of ownership. You imagine something, you imagine what the character's going to look like, the way they move, the way they speak. And that can be really intimidating when you're trying to become that person. And so I actually think that it's been such a blessing and has allowed me, when playing Penny, to take even more risks, how supportive you guys have been of Penny, because thank you. So.
I think besides just our personal fandom, just to be able to play, for me personally, a character that is just a badass woman. And I get messages from so many of you being inspired by that, and that is honestly the greatest gift I could ask for.
I think everyone that I meet now wants to drink with me. And I want to drink with them too. So.
I want to drink with you, and I don't drink.
Everyone you meet? Everyone you meet.
I've had the pleasure of meeting some fans at some mini cons around the US in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Philadelphia, and Denver, Colorado. And, it means the world to me to meet the kids who a few years ago maybe didn't have the same kind of representation on television. I didn't always see queer characters, particularly in fantasy genre shows, and so Elliot is a hero to me and means a lot to me, and these kids mean a lot to me too. So hi King Elliot, Tori, Momo, Pam, you guys know who you are. I love you, thank you for everything that you do.
And now, for the producer, I'll get to you guys in a minute.
Take your time.
Hale,
Yeah.
to go back to you, what a great season. What a great season. I was there were so many puns, it was like, what fresh Hale is he bringing today? And hell yeah! How great was it to play the monster, but also, did it mess with your head because you didn't actually get to play with your friends in the same dynamic?
Yes. I felt like I had to clean slate and start from scratch in a way, which was pretty terrifying. And it was a huge opportunity for me to shake up the expectation of what the audience might think I would deliver. I was told pretty early on, I think John gave me a hint about the monster as someone who might be a child with an incredible curiosity about the human spirit, who doesn't necessarily understand it and who has a lack of empathy and impulse control, perhaps a complete lack. So I think over the course of the season, I wanted to ground him in all of those qualities, as well as give him a sense of a need to belong, someone who might feel on the outside simply because his brain chemistry is slightly different, or he behaves in the world differently and he isn't quite in touch with social cues. So I thought that all of those little seeds might help me create a new character.
Nice. And Olivia, you also spent a solid portion of the first half of the season kind of away from everybody. Except for Santa Claus. Which was so amazing, and I really hope that he comes back, because I feel like a Magician's Christmas episode will be the most effed up thing in the world. Seriously, think about Christmas in filler. What was that like for you, kind of being pulled away from that group, and also your character getting into a place where she was not really gelling with them when she did come back?
Yeah, I mean, I think things for Alice have always been a little hard and dark. I really loved all the stuff in the library prison this year. It was a really fun opportunity for me as an actor to act with myself, act with a wall, act with somebody on the other side of the wall. I don't know, I've gotten to play so many different versions of this character, and this was just another opportunity to explore just more of what's inside her head. And, you know, she's always thinking, she's such a complex woman, and the jail stuff was just really fun to explore, like real problem solving and how to get out. Yeah, no, I really loved it. The Santa Claus stuff was great. I also worked with a cockroach who I wish would come back as well. I didn't know that I was going to be working with a live cockroach for several days in a row. He was going to be in my hands and in my mouth. But he was great. Yeah. The guy, he only bit me about 10 times. No, that stuff was really fun.
It's like they're going down the scale. It's like first a sloth and then rabbits. And
yeah, I got the cockroach.
Yeah. Stella, so much, very much like what Olivia just said about, so much of Julia is forged from her pain and the things that she's endured. How important is to you that she has never really veered into that bitterness or that anger?
I feel like that. Gosh, that's a great question. I feel like that comes with it though, because we all have that naturally, right? Mm-hmm. But you mean like how it hasn't totally taken over? Right. I think it's just what makes her persevere and keep going. It's like there's always, you know, she's got to save the world. And there's always kind of like that through line that's driving her, you know, to not give up, because you can't give up. Got to keep going, even when you feel like you want it.
I want to touch back on something that Jade had mentioned earlier. One of the gratifying things, I think you guys can agree with this, like when you see, but then we also like have like, we're a little possessive over our shows. So when other people start loving a show, you're like, yeah, it's so good, but I love it more. I loved it first. Go over there. But this year, particularly, a lot of different outlets and websites and newspapers started to report and acknowledge the female power of this show. And it was so great that I was like, I'm looking at like the New York Times and I'm like, I've been saying that for 4 seasons. I want the women to talk about this. It's not that they're written like superheroes. They're written like almost like the best selves we could all be. So let's talk about this, and what do you pull from that, and what do you add to it?
Well, first I want to just acknowledge that we have a badass woman at the top creating this. So Sarah Gamble, I think, you know, you nearly said it just now, and Lev Grossman said it best, magic comes from pain. And I think all of these women are human. They're human, and they're taking those things that they're experiencing and the pain and suffering, and they are channeling it into power, and letting it, rather than disempower them, they're letting it empower them into change. And I think that's the most heroic thing.
Like speaking about being human, like not every single woman has to be perfect and strong every second of the day, because no woman or man is that every day. And I feel like all of us on this cast, our characters show that you can be vulnerable, you can have depression, you can have anxiety, you can have things you're working through and still be strong. And I think all of us have that. And I know too for Fen, like specifically has had this very quiet and understated strength her whole life that a lot of people don't see. And so for me personally, Fen's kind of a champion of a quiet strength and a person that's been misunderstood and not seen as a strong person, but then she's surrounded by these strong females. Like she befriends Margot and Julia specifically, these women that inspire her to be like, you know what, I can be bolder. I don't have to keep putting myself behind other people. And me, Brittany, too. There's so many lines that you guys write, and I'm like, did they write that for me or for Ben?
Yes. They're the same person. Beautifully flawed.
Yeah,
These characters are beautifully flawed.
Yeah. And we
Yes.
saw that so perfectly encapsulated in Margot's breakdown in the tank.
Girl.
And talk about the walls come tumbling down. Can you talk about that scene? Because I know that scene was exhausting. Like, that was more than just a scene.
Yeah, that was more than just an episode. I probably lost like 10 pounds. But I mean, I was in heaven every second. It didn't matter how tired I was. It just meant so much to me that episode was finally being made, and there was nothing that was going to get in my way of achieving the performance that I wanted to achieve. Not the hours I was working, not my own self-doubts. There was just something guiding me, and it was the writing in that scene, and it was me, and it was one of the most exhilarating experiences I've ever had as an actress. I mean, I still don't fully, understand the experience. I just sort of immersed myself, and I remember there was one take that I improvised, "It's not my shame," and it didn't make the cut, but I wondered after why I said that, and I'm not like Margot. I don't have the voice she has. I'm still finding my voice, but I understand everything she said in that tent, and I think every woman living understands what she said in that tent. And I had the full support of the crew and all the women that were on set, and I just knew it meant something to me, and I knew it meant something to the crew, and I just hoped that it would translate to the audience. I don't know if I'm sounding articulate or making sense, but
Okay, so I need to get to something, but I've got more questions first. Rick.
Yes.
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 So this is again, he is somebody I'd want to drink with. But how is this guy going to regain his standing with these kids? Like, the turn was severe.
That is a damn good question.
It's not like you can just give them all A's and it's like, how are you doing?
I can only hope that our brilliant writers will, help me navigate those, murky waters, because I think it will be tricky for me, and I like it to be hard. I like it to be a challenge. Fogg has, I've been asked so many times. I think even earlier today, is Fogg a good guy or a bad guy? And I always want to play him that way. So, keep you guys guessing. But I think if you really look at Fogg, he really does care. He really does. Right? Yes. No.
He's got some work to do. And Arjun, we were talking backstage, and you are what very few actors get the chance to play the same character from different universes. And at this point, you have played them almost for the same time, same amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What has that been like for you, processing, like basically letting go of the first one, but keeping the essence of who Penny would be? And which one do you like more?
How do I choose? I don't. I don't have to. No one has to. which is great. It's been a huge gift. It was really challenging at first, and I really appreciate that when, I think it was Mike that wrote that episode 11. Oh, Henry, sorry, shit, my bad. That's sort of great for my career. It was when when Penny 23 was being introduced, they really let me into the conversation about what were you seeing, what was exciting to me, and I really appreciate that I was able to have a conversation with them, but they had written into the script already, the differences there, and it's been immensely challenging, but at the same time so fun and so gratifying, and it was just so fun in the 6th episode of last year where I got to have them meet and really see let those same things and those differences show up, especially where Penny 40's, how he's developed, and it sort of turned into this really like big brother, little brother relationship that I wasn't really expecting, but it was really it's just been the most fun I could possibly have. I will be honest that Penny 40 holds a special place in my heart because it was the first, but Penny 23 is, as I'm getting to spend more time with him, has become really fun.
Okay, and speaking of having fun, Trevor, did anyone see this coming? Trevor?
I did not. No.
Josh?
I don't even know what we're saying.
Josh and Margot. It's one of those things that shouldn't work that works so well.
It's a love story.
You guys are cute!
You guys are the Donna, you're the Donna Martin and David Silver of Greyfields. What did you think when you found out that that's what was in Josh's future?
It's about time. It's about damn time. No, I felt really lucky because I think we touched on it. Margot is such a badass character that by default she makes Josh more badass. And Josh can always use help in that department when he's taking breaks from baking and whatnot. I was gonna say it, but it's been a real joy, and it's a really cool ride, and it's a relationship that we didn't realize the magicians had or the magicians needed. So I really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. I'm so proud of Josh. I really am. If we could all get a Margot. And I'm my girls. So, obviously, we need to discuss the finale. And as I mentioned previously, This show has never, you guys have never done something on this show without thought of what has come forward and what is to come next. And you've never done something without knowing that you needed to address the fallout or follow through with it. So how do you plan to have these people move forward without Quentin?
They're grieving. I mean, seriously grieving in a real way, not in a TV way. You know, I think a lot of this conversation started with Sarah and I having been such close friends for so many years, and it was after many years of being close friends that we both realized that things that shaped our 20s, although I'm 800 years older than she is, but in our 20s we both lost our fathers very suddenly. And that really, we both were then able to kind of dig down as friends and as collaborators and talk about how that broke us, how that hurt us, how we thought we'd never come back from it, and how ultimately accepting it reluctantly made us the people that we are, for good or for ill. And we've always wanted to write about things that are real. You know, the only reason I write The Magicians, because as I've said many times, I'm the one up here who's not a big fan of fantasy, but I love novels because they're fantasies about reality. And death is the ultimate reality. And we lose people we love. You know, I was thinking, and this is not a morbid thought, I promise you. I promise. It'll sound morbid, but it's not. we all have one thing in common in this room, right now, all of us, every single one of us. At the end of this hour, we are all going to be 1 hour closer to death. Pause to think about how that's not morbid. I'm really enjoying being here. Seriously, I'm really enjoying what I'm going to do after this and after that. Minutes, seconds, hours are precious. People are precious. This is my family. You're my family. And we're all going to die someday. You can look away from that all you want, it's going to happen. And I honestly believe that is the reason Sarah Gamble and I optioned those books with our own meager pennies 6 years ago, wrote those little checks, sat in my garage, wrote that pilot, thinking nobody's ever going to make a show like this. Come on. And it really is that combined feeling of wanting to deal with ultimate realities. So that's a long answer to a short question. I'm sorry, Damien.
That was a pretty long question. When we first met Quentin, he was in a position where he could not even advocate for himself.
Right.
When we said goodbye to Quentin, he had journeyed to a level where he was able to not just advocate for himself, but for his friends, his enemies, and magic. What was it like for you guys to have to film that scene at the bonfire?
Oh, the bonfire scene. Oh, you guys should talk about that. I was
there. You guys, yeah.
I think it was cathartic. It was cathartic.
Very cathartic.
Very cathartic.
And I think that we've all experienced loss, and you know, when you lose somebody, it's an opportunity for growth and to find out who you really are, and that's just kind of what my character is going through. And when we shot that scene, I mean, it just felt so good for us all to be together and be experiencing that together. It felt like a very human moment for all of us as actors, and what a gift that we get to explore something of that matter on television. And that night was really special, I think, for all of us, and everyone gave a really beautiful performance.
It didn't feel like acting. It just kind of felt real. Because, you know, we were saying goodbye to this character and we were saying goodbye to Jason. And it was just kind of like, no acting necessary. Just be in it. Which was like beautiful and sad and all the things, you know.
Hale? Because the three of you really played the key relationships in his life.
Yeah. I think that Elliot's relationship with Quentin is something that he will be processing and reliving for a long time. I am grateful that Elliot got to live out an entire life with Quentin and experience love in a way that I don't think he could before they had that experience in the alternate timeline. So I think that it was bittersweet because there's the beauty of what they have and what they remember, and of course the obvious tragedy of losing someone so deep and so fully connected to your heart. So both those things are true.
All right, and on that, we do have a clip from the first episode back that will give you a taste of some of what they'll be going through and how this is all going to be moving them forward, because life does go on. So let's look at this video. Okay, so can you tell us who's under that? Oh, by the way, your cosplay challenge, right there. Can you tell us?
I'd like to just point out that scene, that script written by Henry Alonso Myers, is the season opener.
All right. Okay, so Henry, can you tell us what this quest might entail?
Well, Julia has to figure that out because he wasn't willing to give the quest to her. So, I mean,
Start from scratch.
right. It's always been the philosophy of the magicians that in fantasy you may have a lot of rules that come your way, but that's not really how the real world works. And so I think it's probably safe to spoil the fact that Julie doesn't listen to this guy who doesn't give her a quest. Just as we in the world don't have to listen when someone says not to do something. That's not really in her nature. That's not who she is. So it's something she decides to seek out and try to stop herself.
Can you tell us who was under the makeup?
Sean McGuire is the actor's name.
Okay, so you've got him as a guest star. You have
For
a
10 years, he's wonderful. He's like one of my oldest friends.
Yeah,
We
oh.
did a show together like 10 years ago. He's awesome.
Okay, so we've got him. You've got a couple other names coming in, correct? Including one that Miss Brittany knew about yesterday when she was on our TV Guide magazine fan favorites panel with her.
I thought I wasn't supposed to say anything. I was so scared. You and she were both so good. Does anyone watch American Gods? Are you familiar with the most gorgeous invaginator that ever was? TV Badaki. We've been wanting to get her on for a long time.
Excellent.
We love her, and she makes an appearance this season. As does, have you guys seen that show You on Netflix? You know Kako?
Yeah.
Luca Padovan plays a very important role early in the season. He knocks it out of the fucking park. I'm really excited for this.
Nice. Excellent. We are going to get some fan questions going. I think that's right back there. And while they line up, what can you tell us about the musical episode? And will Jade be hitting that note again?
Oh no, Jade can hit much higher notes. I once asked her, I think in maybe season 3 or I can't remember, do you have a 3-octave range? And she said, 4-octave range. Hence the genesis of the line, 4-octave range, bitch. Yeah. There will be a musical episode. It will be it's going to be a little bit later in the season. And all I can tell you is it's going to be probably our most plot-intensive musical.
This is all news to me. I haven't heard a word.
I just thought of this 40 seconds ago.
As long as you promise to give us Hill writhing in the desert sun.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
I don't repeat costumes.
Go ahead.
Thank you all for being here. The show is incredibly special. So, with all your consent, since the show touches on things like trauma and mental illness and queerness and just really personal topics, if you're okay with answering, what ways have those themes affected your life, and what storylines have you dealt with that kind of hit something in your past that you're willing to talk about?
I'll start and say that John and I talked about this stuff way back in his garage when we were writing the pilot on spec. The reason that when we first meet Quentin, he is contending with his brain chemistry and contending with depression is because we understand that, and we have struggled with that. And many people, you know what, it's really common. Yep. It's incredibly common, it's a big group. And so one of the mission statements for us in making The Magicians about all kinds of inclusiveness, everything from the way that your brain works to who you love to what you think you are. We feel like including all of that and saying people are so many things at the same time is really the motor that runs under all of our stories. We're not standing on a soapbox to give a political message. We're looking for the deepest, most human story we can tell that includes the truth that I learn more every single day, which is people are deep and complicated, and they are shaped by so many things. And the more things you let in, and the more things that you express that make you you, the better your experience on this planet becomes. The more interesting, the richer, the deeper.
I have generalized anxiety disorder with a fun little sprinkle of depression in there sometimes too. And when I always thought something was wrong with me, I always thought there was something wrong with my brain, the way that I thought. And when I finally was able to, when I get a little older, put the word anxiety to it, I found out it's a real chemical imbalance. Like you'd go, if you broke your arm, you'd go to the hospital and you'd put on a cast and you'd take medication to help you get through the pain. And there should be no difference between that and mental health. And once I learned that for myself, I became a happier person. And also mental health issues don't look like sadness all the time. I mean, some of our biggest heroes and like Chris Farley, all these huge people that are happy and laughing, and I'm one of those people, like I am, a happy person who's also horribly anxious sometimes. And so it doesn't look like what you think it is, which is just a reminder, like, reach out to your friends, even the friends who are the loudest and the ones that are making the jokes and are always smiling. It doesn't mean that they always feel that way. But yeah, I'm just like a weird little bundle of anxiety and happiness. So that's why I'm wearing a Disney princess shirt.
I want to just touch on that really quickly because I think you're asking a very personal question, and it really resonates. And but I don't want to get into those details because we don't have enough time.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm learning still is that no matter how many things that I've dealt with, whether that's abuse, confusion about sexuality, whether that's just my own mental health issues, the thing that I want to convey to everybody is that there's nothing wrong with you. And I'm still having to learn that myself, is that I've been trying to fix myself my whole life and going to all these different self-development things. I'm getting really emotional about it.
I'm crying too.
Yeah. But the truth is, there's nothing wrong. Like, we're all human, we're all dealing with things, and that's perfect, just as it is.
I started therapy 9 years ago, thinking that I needed to fix myself, and I've realized along the way that the thing that I needed to fix was the idea that I needed to fix myself.
Can you stay after so we can all give you a hug, please?
I was just gonna say that.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I know there's a specific trauma that comes with growing up queer, gay, bi, trans, and all of those experiences are different in and of themselves. But when I found Elliot, I saw someone who was a hero despite an incredible amount of trauma, the likes of which I hadn't personally experienced to that degree. And that gave me hope for representation on television and for a kind of heroism in a character that I hadn't quite seen before. So he means a lot to me for those reasons.
Thank you.
Hey.
Ooh, aloha.
Aloha to you too. I'll make my introduction pretty brief. You guys are amazing. My question is for Summer, though.
Perfect.
Like you.
She just came from Hawaii.
We can go together, it's fine. Do you believe in magic? Because I'm actually sensing some magic between us.
Magic. I believe in extraordinary things and in exceptional circumstances, because if you just look at how complex the human mind is and the human body is and its function and the world around you, how can you not believe in magic or something other than, because it's all around us. Extraordinary things exist all around us and happen every day, and I do believe in magic in that sense. And I like your shirt.
Honestly, thought I had seen everything at Comic-Con. Everything. And I've seen some tough stuff too.
Oh, you're cool. I like yours.
Hello. Hello. Never thought I would be here. Love all of you. Trevor, this one is for you. I really enjoyed seeing your character develop. You kind of started as like a side character and you were pretty central in this last quest. and your character's relationship with Summer's character is great. How has that growth been for you as an actor? Because I've enjoyed it as a fan.
Oh, thanks so much, man.
Yeah.
It's a ton of fun. This group of people is, we are a very close-knit family by default because we work so closely together, but we, like all families are, but we really embrace all the challenges that are thrown at us, not only as characters, but as actors, and I'm really thankful to the writers that get to give all these characters a voice. So it's like you said, you know, you jump on a series and you don't know how long that journey is going to be. And to say that I'm sitting here at Comic-Con filming season 5 with this wonderful group is such a blessing. So I'm going to continue making Josh as fun and crazy and expanded as I need to. So thank you very much.
So I love the spell work on the show, and since you're all a very talented cast, I was wondering how difficult or fun or easy it was for you all to master the choreography of the hand signs.
Oh my God, it's bloody impossible.
Okay. You and Summer?
It's all easy.
It's not impossible.
I made that shit up.
God, Heavenly, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry for all of these people saying
Oh, he knows.
Kevin Lee is our choreographer for our tutting, and he needs the moment to shine right here. He's awesome, and then makes videos for us, and then because yes, we aren't experts at this, he comes to set and makes sure that we don't look like idiots.
Yeah, he's
not
on
always-
set with us.
Yeah, and so it is difficult, but we have a wonderful choreographer that helps us.
Yeah.
And to piggyback off that, Brittany brought her knives.
Oh, I'm so unprepared.
Let's do this.
All right, fine, I'll tell you.
Front row, just watch your eyes, please.
Cut around that, it'll be fine. I'm a little nervous. I'm not used to doing this in front of my mouth.
They're plastic, just so you know.
What's up, Spider-Man? What's up, Spider-Man?
Hi, I'm Jonathan Mele. Just a quick question that I want to know since I've seen the first episode. One, if you all were in Harry Potter, what house would you be? And which character would you pick to beat up? Because I feel like you guys could take the whole Harry Potter cast down.
So, what a violent question. I would be oh, no.
I'd be in Ravenclaw and I'd punish Draco.
Margot.
I would just drink butterbeer all day.
Yeah, our characters are us personally. What house would we be in? What movie would we be in?
Penny. Where do y'all think Penny's gonna be?
Slytherin. Slytherin. I'm a
All right. Okay. Slytherin's the loudest.
Slytherin.
Thank you.
Okay, I was just told that had to be the last question because I have to announce something.
It's just one more. Let him go.
One more? Okay, you go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Damien. I'm also Damien, so you spell it right. My question you took, but what would be each of your characters' theme tunes?
Characters.
Character theme songs.
Penny would be something by Wu-Tang.
Show me that smile again. and waste another minute on your pride.
Venus and Fur?
Oh.
Wait.
I was thinking
Princess
Once Upon a
Sophia.
Time.
Gloria. Oh no.
Gloria!
Yeah, that was.
By Laura Branigan. Or Hounds of Love.
Oh yeah. That's my song also.
Yeah, you introduced so many. Kate Bush.
Okay.
Alice would be some sort of really complex classical song that you end up not wanting to listen to after 20 minutes.
I think the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you want.
Fonz would be the theme song from Cheers.
In between shots, Jade and I have been
Known to sing.
known to sing.
Oh, that's all I did.
That, now I've seen everything that comes. But I do have to announce that fans wearing Magician's cosplay should gather for a group photo outside of the ballroom. The photo will be taken in room 202A across the hall from the panel room exit and next to the bag check area.
And we will be there.
They will be there. So this is a cosplay group photo with the Magicians. So head on over there and get your picture taken. I want to thank these incredible people. I want to thank you incredible people.